Our next speaker is Robert Knight from Schneider Electric, and Robert will be talking about incorporating electrical switchgear to complement and future-proof an interior design. I've just got your intro here. Robert, here we go. So Robert will be talking about an overview for the key considerations for medical and commercial electrical requirements and the design options for enhancing features available for residential applications. As I mentioned before, this has been approved by NZIA and carries 5 NZRAB CPD points. PDL Home Solutions consultant Robert Knight has been with Schneider Electric for 12 years. With a background in sales and account management, Robert is passionate about helping people bring their projects to life with the right electrical solutions. Robert manages the PDL by Schneider Electric Auckland Vision Studio, where he offers personalised electrical planning and consultation service to architects, designers, builders, consumers and trade. Robert, welcome. There you are.
Hello.
Have we got like a pre-COVID and post-COVID kind of version of you on the screen here?
Yeah, have a little bit actually. Yeah, I must actually update that, because I do get that comment quite often actually. So, the beard actually appeared at the end of Christmas actually, but stayed with me through COVID. So, yeah, it keeps me sort of nice and warm anyway.
Good on you. Good on you. Hey, well, look over to you. Looking forward to your presentation.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so what I am going to run through today is the different considerations that we need to really apply to different projects where electrical specifications are required. And what I'm going to run through specifically, get this working, there we go. We're going to talk about medical facilities versus commercial projects, and then talking about residential projects as well too, which is quite a big subject in itself, to be fair. But just could run through those 3 different considerations and give you a bit of a heads up of what really needs to be thought about when each of those different projects have been specified. So first and foremost, I guess we talk about the medical facilities, of course. So we've got Mr. Jones in the background there. Hope he's okay. Right, with medical specifications, there's a lot of considerations. I mean, you can't just use any standard switchgear or light switches or sockets into a medical situation. There's a lot of different elements that have to be adhered to. So, we have to be able to see exactly what the socket is, what the socket does, what the socket's connected to. There may be situations where, for instance, medical panels where they've got a lot of different things all in one great big panel. So you've got you've got your gas, you've got your nurse call, you've got all your different sort of power points in there too. So there's a lot of considerations and a lot of regulations too when it comes to medical situations. This is just the 3 different regulations that actually have to be adhered to, and please don't let me read them to you. It could take another couple of hours to actually rattle through these. They're no doubt very, very wordy, but that is basically the 3 different regulations that need to be followed when we are specifying for a medical situation. So people in the future, feel free to look all those up. There's certainly some good bedtime reading in there. Things like medical sockets. So we do a brand called Medilec. It comes out of Clipsal in Australia. But if you've ever done a medical project, there are even different coloured sockets for all the different types of power supply. Your white is for your normal power. There's a red socket outlet for essential power. There's a blue one which is for UPS, so uninterrupted power supplies. And there's actually even a specific socket that you use for the cleaners. So the cleaner with his vacuum cleaner has to plug it into that beige socket. They're not allowed to plug them into all the other ones. And then over and above that too, of course, you've got all your RCD protection, which is obviously, very, very important in a medical facility. There may even be considerations, as I mentioned just briefly before, for medical panels. So a lot of medical hospitals or doctors' offices or institutes require the medical panels where everything's together in one big panel. So this is actually something that we can help people with. We can design medical panels and bill of materials and everything that people actually need for that. So this just gives people the ability, like the photograph shows below, to just keep everything grouped, and you'll see this if you ever are inside a medical facility there. And this is basically where we need to talk about the BPA and the CPA protected areas too. So, body protected areas such as doctors' offices, dentists' offices, accident and emergency wards. I won't go through the entire list, but you can see there's a lot of different facilities there that actually require specific body protection devices. And we're talking like RCD protection, so protection against electrocution. And then you've got cardiac protected as well too. So, things like operating theatres, critical care, anywhere where there is exposed body parts, if you like. So, if somebody's been opened up, but that may even go through to like a dentist's office where they're, sort of tunneling around in your mouth. Now, on to commercial buildings. So this is a really interesting one because with commercial buildings, there really hasn't been a dedicated commercial range for commercial buildings. So generally people are using standard domestic switchgear in those applications. And because of that, you can certainly run into some pretty nasty pain points. And if you just walk around most shopping centres and stuff and just have a bit of a look around when you're there and just, have a look at the sockets down on the floor, and you'll probably see a few of the examples that I'm going to quickly run through now. One of the requirements for commercial buildings is labeling, circuit identification. So, socket outlets, data connections all have to be labeled as to what they connect to in the switchboard. So the electrician, if he's working on site, can easily identify what circuit that socket is connected to. But of course, with residential switchgear being used in a commercial space, that's basically going to be a dyno label, or it's going to be a felt tip underneath the cover plate, or you never know how they're going to do it, but it's generally not a terribly professional looking outcome. Things like cover plates, and again, if you walk around the shopping centres and look down, you'll notice that a lot of them are missing. Different commercial spaces like schools, for instance, you can't put in switchgear which has actually got cover plates because they miraculously disappear all the time. Not quite sure how that happens, but cover plates in schools tend to walk rather rapidly, unfortunately. So that's another consideration. Things like just robustness too, because, again, standard domestic switchgear isn't designed to really take a knock. And if you've got sockets down low and people are whizzing around with trolleys or shopping trolleys, or, just anywhere in a warehouse or anywhere like that, they're going to get damaged, they're going to get broken, and there's an example there, obviously. And, the more damage they get, potentially they're going to become unsafe as well too. And just general aesthetics, you want something relatively modern. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be an ugly old looking socket. You can do something fairly stylish too. And of course, the fifth consideration too is just making sure that, the stuff on the back is electrician friendly. They like to have products that's easy to install, and it has all the different sort of features that they're sort of comfortable using as well too. So the solution for this problem is PDL Pro Series. So we have now a dedicated commercial range of switchgear, which is specifically designed for commercial sectors. So it's not a residential range of switchgear that we've just simply modified and made a couple of little changes to. This is a brand new product. So first and foremost, it has dedicated labeling capability. So there's actually a little tab underneath the cover plate that the electrician puts as either a dyno label or a different type of label onto, and that is actually hidden under a little window on the socket or the switch or the data connection. So it's permanent labeling. Things like impact resistance. So the socket outlets in PDL Pro Series are IK08, which means they will take a fairly hefty impact. So that's actually a test that we put them through, where there's a little hammer comes down and bashes these guys, and they have to read a certain standard to be IK08. We do black and white. We kept it real simple, but it's a nice, easy, clean gloss finish on the PDL Pro Series. So that's just a nice example there of how that can look in a commercial space as well too. And last but not least, of course, we have made these a breeze to fit for the electrician, most important. So if anybody on the call is actually familiar with the PDL Iconic range, which is our our most popular residential switchgear range. We've actually followed a few of the features on the back end of that Iconic range onto PDL Pro Series. So certainly listen to feedback from our customers. They love how that works. So it was a bit of a no-brainer to carry that over to a dedicated commercial range as well too. Now, just because it's in a commercial space doesn't mean it has to be boring. So we've added a few of the, really popular features that you would normally see in residential situations into the PDL Pro Series commercial range. Just things like USB chargers and power points. I mean, you put those into airports. You always go to an airport and you've got your cable and you're trying to find somewhere to plug it in, or the power points are taken, or you just can't find one at all. But having a commercial range of switchgear which has got all those little niceties in it, again, is a real winner. So these are beautiful in the high traffic areas of offices, airports. There's a lot of architectural design goes into these spaces, so it's unfortunate that sometimes they don't necessarily get a look in when it comes to the switchgear. So this definitely gives people an option to put something really stylish, really modern, fit for purpose into those commercial spaces. Now, this is actually a fairly substantial project that we just recently completed, actually. So anybody in Auckland may be familiar with the huge, big Nido homeware store that's just opened up over in West Auckland in Henderson. This is a 27,000 square metre building. It is absolutely massive, unbelievable. And that was a perfect situation where we've put in PDL Pro Series. So it was used, the electrician wanted something that was going to be robust, easy to label, modern, and it had to be knock resistant. These guys are running around with trolleys with stock on all over the place, and if they go banging these things all over the wall, they're going to fail pretty quickly. So this product actually had a lot of attributes that fitted this project beautifully. So if you ever find yourself over in Henderson, give yourself a couple of hours to look around this place. It's absolutely massive. Also, just the last point on this one, we also put in a lighting control system, which is our Schneider Electric C-bus automation, and it had a Dali lighting control system as well. So that's actually digital lighting control. So you can imagine something of that magnitude has got a lot of lights. They can actually control them smartly using C-bus and Dali. Okay, and moving on, I guess, into residential. I mean, this is a pretty big subject, I guess, and there's generally a lot of choice when it comes to residential switchgear, but unfortunately, it does tend to get the raw end of the budget sometimes. But it's quite important, obviously, to make sure that when you're doing a project, that the switchgear is definitely a consideration that is part of the design focus. And this example right here, I mean, this is a renovation that we did, and as you can see, they've probably spent quite a bit of money on this kitchen. You can't see an awful lot of it in the photograph, but you can imagine that these projects aren't terribly cheap, and it would be a bit of a crime really to leave the old switchgear on there. And again, I guess even if we freshened up that switchgear and put new stuff on, it's going to look about the same, really. So, it's going to look dated. It's not really going to look like, there's been a lot of thought obviously put into that project. So, you really want to choose a switchgear range which is going to be very easy to customize and offers a lot of design choices which are going to complement the project as you go through. So, PDL Iconic does a vivid white color, which is that one there. There's 3 other plastic colors available too, but you can see how that's completely freshened up that project. So, it's the same double socket outlet. We've got a couple of isolators there. You can plug your telephone or your data connection over there on the left-hand side, but way more modern and definitely more complementary of what that project deserves. We also have the ability to actually change the covers on these switch gears to again, give completely different looks and different moods and different designs. So, in this situation here, we've got a anodized aluminium, very dark charcoal called Silver Shadow. And you can see how that actually complements the jug, for instance, and the little sign that's over to the right-hand side there. Something like this is called PDL Iconic Essence, and this actually has a real wood trim around it too. So that obviously you can see how that works beautifully with the base of that kettle and the other elements in the room. So, really easy using PDL Iconic to actually customize the look based on the style that you're looking for. So there's all 3 of them all together. You can see how that really works. So, I mean, residential switchgear doesn't have to be boring. It's there to really add, comfort and convenience and security and energy efficiency. And, the considerations that people really need to think about when you're specifying switchgear for residential is, what would the space be used for? Who will be using that space? What are we working on? Are we doing the kitchen? Are we doing the bathroom? Are we doing walk-in wardrobes or pantries or sculleries and stuff like that? So, each of those little areas are going to need different considerations. So PDL Iconic is one platform with all those different skin designs. So the standard base unit you see there on the left-hand side, that's what the electrician installs. You can have any of these looks, 9 different designs, all in the same range of switchgear. You don't need the electrician to come back and install something different. This is basically just a cover plate change that the specifier, the homeowner can do, anybody can do without needing to get an electrician to actually come back and make actual physical changes to the product. And again, why make it boring? I mean, if we're going to be doing some beautiful, stylish products in the residential home, you might as well make it usable as well too. Things like USB chargers, absolute no-brainer, brilliant product. Being able to identify what the switches do, and a lot of people, you've got multiple switches now on these residential projects. So you have 6 switches on the wall, and you lived in the place for 12 months and you still can't remember what half of them do. So there's a really easy way of actually labeling those and identifying what that switch does. And there's also some smart options too. So there's Bluetooth control, we do smart switches, smart dimmers, there's even a smart socket outlet now that you can actually control with your smartphone. So it doesn't have to be boring. You can also add some pretty clever features into these ranges as well too. And then I just want to run through briefly and just show you a little bit more about the different skins that we do in Iconic, and then a couple of the other ranges that we offer as well too. So as I mentioned sort of in the beginning of this presentation, there's a lot of choice when it comes to residential, but we can pretty much cater for everybody's taste, not only for style, materials, colors, but also budgets too, because that's obviously quite a consideration as well. First and foremost, Iconic style. This is a cover plate for the PDL Iconic range. It's a beautiful anodized aluminium product. There's been a lot of thought put into the detail of this. We do 3 color options: the dark color, the silver shadow, there's a silver, there's crown, which is like a champagne color. But for future reference, there's all the measurements there as well too. So that's good specifications sort of going forward. And you can see how that project there really, really works. So, the brief from the client in this situation was they wanted a dark, moody, masculine mix. And the Iconic silver shadow, you can see that absolutely works with all of those bench colors, the splashback, the smoky grey splashback is absolutely beautiful. So, that'd be a bit of a sin really to have some standard white switchgear on there, right? And that's exactly why people try to hide it away, because it just does not suit all the other design elements that they're currently putting in there. Iconic Essence has a real wood surround. It's actually made of birch, which is pretty unique for switchgear of any standard. So, we bought some real timber into this range here too, but the beautiful curves and the lovely soft feel of it, it's a real designer favorite. We're doing 2 colors on that one. We're doing the Arctic white with a wood surround, and then ash gray has also got the wood, but it's been given a dark stain, so you can't quite see that it's wood, but it's the same material used in both of those. In this example here too, you can see how that wood surround on that, you can see the socket down on the bottom of that island there. That works just beautifully with those beautiful, nice soft blonde wood tones. So it's a perfect match actually. Now this Saturn Zen would be one of our designer favorites. This is normally top of the list with our interior designer and our architect customers. It's very minimalist. It's square, it's sharp, it doesn't have a lot of colors going on. We do a black and a white. We keep it really basic, but it is an absolute favorite right there. So there's a couple of other images here with some dimensions that you can refer back to at a later stage, but it's got some real unique features, and like I mentioned, it's an absolute designer favorite. You can see how that one there, basic white wall, white socket, keep it simple, but black negative detail around the back of the socket there, that works so well with the, the dark tap and the dark joinery. So, you're kind of bringing in all those different elements into the switchgear, which, 5 years ago was never really thought about. People just put white switches in. You were lucky to get a choice between black or white, really, but there's a lot of design consideration given to this now, and that's kind of what we're promoting. There's a lot of choice, so don't just go for the standard switches and sockets these days. And that one there shows a bit of a contrast between the white walls and the grey, the black colour. So that just shows you how you can get a real contrasting look against those darker features. Saturn Glass is perfect for things like kitchens and bathroom areas where you've got a lot of reflective surfaces. It's a acrylic material. It's like glass look, hence the name. And we do a couple of basic colours in that, the pure white and the ocean mist. But absolutely beautiful product, and that's a good example of it right there against that dark wall. So definitely a standout product. Not the sort of thing people buy to hide away. This kind of product here can really make a feature of the house. So absolutely lovely. Steels into the switchgear range. So this is part of the Saturn family. And we offer a true stainless steel, and there's also a dark stainless steel version of that as well too. So again, against the right settings, like that dark timber feature there, that's Saturn Horizon Black, and you can see how that really works against that darker surface there. Very, very beautiful quality. Absolute attention to detail. It's phenomenal. And then we get into metal plates. Fair, actually, it's been around for quite a while, but it is absolutely flush to the wall. It is 1.2 millimeters thick. It comes in a solid brass, or it comes in a solid stainless steel material. So again, another absolute designer favorite. Architects on the line will certainly recognize metal plate. Like I say, it's been around a long time, but it is quite unique. And against finishes like this application right here, where we've got it on that bare hollow stone wall, the thin stainless steel, this absolutely works. And the black switches, you get a choice between black or white switches. You can see how that blends into the darker features too. There's a great example of the brass in that kitchen area there. So it's pretty obvious to see how that works beautifully with all the other brass features, the tapware and all the handles. So it was a bit of a no-brainer that was the perfect choice for that project. So the electrical solutions, for specific installations, so that's kind of what we need to really think about is what are we working on, and what are the specific products we need to use for that. So for medical applications, you've got to talk about the easily identifiable power identification, the co-location of services with your medical panels and stuff, enhanced earth leakage, BPA and CPA requirements. They're going to require different things. So there's definitely a lot of thought when you come to medical situations. In commercial situations, use a dedicated product that is actually designed specifically for commercial. PDL Pro Series is exactly what we designed for that product alone. It's not a residential product that we're modified. It's specifically designed. Circuit identification, it's robust. The aesthetics are there, ease of installation, all the network connectivity. We've thought about it all actually, so we've pretty much covered everything in that product. And lastly, but not least, in residential, think about all the different design options that are available. You don't want to be specifying standard switchgear into a beautiful project where there's been so much detail put into all the other elements. So there's a lot of choice. PDL Iconic has all the different faceplate options. Saturn Zen, metal plate. There's a very big range to pretty much suit any project that you may actually have happening. Thank you. That is my presentation. I hope that all made perfect sense. And yeah, happy to take any questions.
Robert, thank you very much for that. Loved all of those images and taking us through the range. So just a couple of clarifications. You mentioned in the previous slide under medical facilities, the references to BPA and CPA requirements. Can you just clarify what that means?
Yeah, so the acronym's BPA and CPA. So BPA is body protected area, and CPA is cardiac protected area. So that all refers to the RCD protection that has to be in a medical facility. So body protected is basically, I guess it's similar to your RCD that you're going to have in your bathroom, or you may have in your circuit breaker or your switchboard at home. It's going to protect against electrocution. So that's body protected area. But cardiac protected area is a lot more strict when it comes to the requirements. Anywhere that there is open skin, obviously things like operating theatres, stuff like that, there is a completely different requirement when it comes to that kind of protection.
Gotcha. Okay. A few considerations there, and you also referenced the rating in terms of the LK rating between the commercial and residential switchgear ranges. Can you just clarify the difference?
Yeah, so the PDL Pro Series, being a dedicated commercial product, was actually tested for robustness. So the test that they apply to that is literally like a little hammer that comes down and whacks on the cover plate, and they do that from a certain weight at a certain distance. So the rating for that particular product is IK08. So any sort of domestic switchgear, like your general switch and socket that you find sort of around most homes, doesn't actually have a impact rating because it doesn't need to. So there's actually no other rating that I can sort of mention for residential switchgear, except that because it's not designed for commercial applications, it's never actually been tested to that standard. But we can tell you that PDL Pro Series is IK08, which is pretty robust, and it'll take some pretty hefty knocks.
Yeah, okay. Cool, thank you. The IK rather than the LK, I'll clarify that. One of the earlier slides, you had the different configurations with the different switches, the USB sockets. They were all in white. I'm assuming you've got a range of colours that they're available in?
Yeah, we can do, yeah. So each of the ranges sort of have their own different colour options. So Saturn Zen comes in black and white, et cetera, et cetera. With the PDL Iconic range, which has all the interchangeable faceplates, you can basically make that any one of those 9 different designs. So we've got 4 plastic colours. We've got the 3 Iconic style, which is the aluminiums, and we've got 2 of the Iconic Essence, which is the one with the wood surround around it. So those colours can be on any of the Iconic products, whether it be a switch or a socket, with or without USB, data connections. We do the whole range and all those different options.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that. Some useful there with considerations. Now, Robert, any final comments from you?
Yeah, I think just get in contact with me if there's any questions. Obviously, after the webinar, I mean, the electrical can be quite a big subject, and obviously there's a lot of choice out there. We have 2 showrooms in New Zealand, one based in Auckland, where I am, in Highbrook, and another one in Christchurch. So we are actually able to host clients, specifiers, and end users in here, and sort of talk about our products in a bit more detail. So we can certainly help out, obviously, going forward with any specifications or samples or anything that's required from the specifiers from here on.
Great. Okay.